My name is Margaret Collins, but everyone calls me Maggie. I'm 52 years old, and until 13 months ago, I was married to the love of my life for 28 years. My husband Robert built this house with his own hands, board by board, room by room. Every corner holds a memory. Every wall whispers his name. I never imagined that a year after losing him, I'd be standing in my own living room, listening to my son tell me I should move into the storage room. The storage room. Let me back up. When Robert died, my world shattered. A heart attack at 53, sudden and merciless. One moment he was laughing at breakfast, the next he was gone. Daniel, my only child, 28 and newly married, promised to be there for me. He held me at the funeral. He told me I'd never be alone. For the first few months, he kept that promise. He visited twice a week. He called every day. His wife Claire seemed supportive, bringing casseroles and offering gentle smiles. I was grateful. I was drowning in grief, and they threw me a rope. But then, Claire's mother arrived. Helen Thompson swept into my house like a hurricane disguised as a helpful breeze. Claire introduced her as someone who could help me manage the household while I grieved. I didn't need help managing anything, but I was too tired to argue. Helen started small. She reorganized my kitchen cabinets. She rearranged the living room furniture. She spoke to me in a tone that was sweet on the surface, but condescending underneath. This is how we do things in our family, Maggie. You'll get used to it. Our family. This was my family. My house. My life. But I said nothing. I was still numb. Still lost in the fog of widowhood. Then came the day everything changed. It was a Tuesday afternoon. Daniel knocked on my bedroom door, the master bedroom I'd shared with Robert for over 2 decades. I was folding laundry, Robert's old shirts I still couldn't bring myself to donate. Daniel stepped inside, Claire right behind him. Her expression was carefully neutral, but her eyes gleamed with something I couldn't quite name. Mom, we need to talk. His voice was serious, almost rehearsed. I set down the shirt in my hands and looked at him. My son. My baby boy who used to climb into my lap when he had nightmares. What is it, sweetheart? Daniel glanced at Claire. She gave him a small nod, encouraging. He cleared his throat. Mom, Claire and I have been talking. We think it would be better if you moved downstairs, to the storage room. I stared at him. The words didn't register at first. They seemed to hang in the air, nonsensical. The storage room. Daniel shifted his weight, uncomfortable. Claire stepped forward, her voice dripping with false concern. Just temporarily, Mom. You see, my mother has been staying in the guest room, and it's really not comfortable for her. She has a bad back, you know. The master bedroom has that wonderful mattress Robert invested in, and we thought... I held up my hand. My heart was pounding, but my voice came out steady. You thought I should give up my bedroom, the bedroom I shared with my husband, so your mother can sleep in my bed. Claire's smile tightened. Well, when you put it that way, it sounds harsh. We're just trying to make things easier for everyone. Think of it as a temporary arrangement. Daniel finally spoke again, his voice weak. It's just until Mom visits, you know. She'll feel more comfortable. And the storage room isn't that bad. We can clean it up, make it nice. I looked at my son, really looked at him. When had he become this person? This man who stood in my bedroom and suggested I move to a storage room so his mother-in-law could take my place. This is my house, I said quietly. The house your father built. Every nail, every board, every window. He built it for us. For our family. Claire's expression shifted just slightly, the sweetness cracked, revealing something harder underneath. And we're grateful for that, Mom. But things change. Daniel and I are here to help you. We're trying to be considerate of everyone's needs. Everyone's needs except mine, apparently. The silence that followed was thick and dangerous. Daniel looked at the floor. Claire met my gaze with a challenge in her eyes. I felt something inside me shift. Something that had been dormant since Robert's death. I'm not moving to the storage room. Claire's jaw tightened. Mom, you're being unreasonable. Don't call me Mom. I kept my voice calm, but steel ran through it. You're not my daughter, and this is still my house. Daniel finally looked up, his face flushing. Mom, please. Don't make this harder than it has to be. I'm not the one making this hard, Daniel. You are. You're asking me to give up my bedroom, my space, my dignity, in my own home. Before he could respond, I heard footsteps on the stairs. Helen appeared in the doorway, her expression sharp and assessing. Is everything all right up here? I could hear raised voices. Claire turned to her mother. Mom, Maggie is being difficult about the bedroom situation. Helen's eyes swept over me with thinly veiled contempt. Maggie, dear, I think you're letting your emotions cloud your judgment. This is a perfectly reasonable request. You're alone now. You don't need all this space. The downstairs room would be much more practical for you. The words hit me like a slap. You're alone now. As if Robert's death had diminished me, made me less deserving of my own home. I stood up slowly, meeting Helen's gaze. Get out. Helen blinked. Excuse me? Get out of my bedroom. Get out of my house. Now. Claire gasped. Mom, you can't talk to my mother that way. I can, and I will. This is my house. I didn't invite her here. I didn't ask for her help. And I certainly didn't give her permission to start making decisions about where I sleep. Daniel stepped between us, his hands raised. Mom, please, let's just calm down and talk about this rationally. There's nothing rational about asking a widow to move to a storage room so your mother-in-law can sleep in her bed, Daniel. Nothing. My voice cracked on the last word, and I hated myself for it. I didn't want to cry, I didn't want to show weakness. But the betrayal was overwhelming. Daniel's face crumpled. I didn't mean it like that. I just thought, what did you think, sweetheart, that I wouldn't care? That I'd just quietly disappear into the shadows of my own home? Helen made a dismissive sound. You're being dramatic, Maggie. Claire and Daniel are trying to build a life here. You should be supporting them, not throwing tantrums. Something inside me snapped. I walked past them, down the stairs, and straight to the desk in Robert's old study. I pulled out the file cabinet, found what I was looking for, and returned to the living room where all three of them had followed me. I held up the deed to the house. Do you know what this is? Daniel frowned. Mom, what are you? This is the deed to this house. The house your father built. The house that is in my name. Mine alone. Not yours, Daniel. Not yours, Claire. And certainly not yours, Helen. Claire's face went pale. You wouldn't. Wouldn't what? Remind you whose house this is? Because clearly you've all forgotten. Helen stepped forward, her voice turning icy. You're making a mistake, Maggie. Family takes care of family. If you push us away, you'll be truly alone. I've been alone since Robert died. The three of you being here hasn't changed that. In fact, you've made it worse. Daniel looked stricken. Mom, I'm sorry. I didn't realize... What? That I still have feelings? That I still deserve respect? That this is still my home? The room fell silent except for the ticking of the grandfather clock Robert had restored when we first moved in. I want Helen out of this house by tomorrow, I said quietly, and I want both of you to think very carefully about whether you're here because you care about me or because you want something from me. Claire's mask finally dropped completely. Her expression turned venomous. You're making a huge mistake. Daniel, tell her. Tell her she's being ridiculous. But Daniel was staring at me with something like recognition dawning in his eyes. Maybe for the first time since Robert died, he was actually seeing me. Mom, he whispered. I'm sorry. Sorry isn't enough, Daniel. Actions matter. And right now, your actions are telling me that your wife and her mother matter more than I do. That's not true, he protested, but his voice lacked conviction. Then prove it. I walked past them and went to my bedroom, the master bedroom, and locked the door. I could hear Claire's raised voice downstairs, Helen's sharp responses, Daniel's weak attempts to mediate. I sat on the edge of the bed Robert and I had shared for so many years and let the tears come. But these weren't tears of weakness. They were tears of rage and grief and something else, something that felt like awakening. The next morning, I woke early. I showered, dressed in one of my best outfits, and went downstairs. Helen was in the kitchen making coffee as if she owned the place. She looked up when I entered, her expression wary. "I've called a locksmith," I said pleasantly. "He'll be here in an hour to change the locks. I suggest you have your things packed by then." Helen's cup clattered against the saucer. "You're serious." "Completely." Claire appeared in the doorway, her hair disheveled, her face tight with anger. "You can't kick my mother out." "Watch me." Daniel emerged behind his wife, looking exhausted. "Mom, please, can't we talk about this?" "We did talk about it, Daniel. Yesterday, when you asked me to move to the storage room. Remember?" His face flushed. "I said I was sorry, and I said sorry isn't enough. I meant it." Helen stood abruptly, her chair scraping against the floor. "Fine. I don't need this. I don't need to stay where I'm not wanted." "Claire, Daniel, get your things. We're leaving." Claire looked at her mother, then at Daniel. Her expression was calculating. "Daniel," she said softly, "are you really going to let your mother do this to us?" Daniel looked between us, clearly torn. I could see the battle playing out on his face, the son who loved his mother, the husband who wanted to please his wife, the man who had to choose. I held my breath. Finally, he spoke. "Claire, I think we should stay at your mum's place for a while, give everyone some space to cool down." Claire's eyes went wide. "What?" "Just for a few days, so we can all think clearly." Helen made a sound of disgust. "This is ridiculous. Daniel, you're a grown man. Stop letting your mother control you." "That's rich," I said before I could stop myself. "Coming from you." Helen whirled on me. "What did you say?" "You heard me. You've been trying to control this household since you walked through that door, rearranging my furniture, reorganizing my kitchen, making decisions about my life, all while pretending to help. But you're not helping. You're taking over. How dare you? How dare you? I shot back. This is my home, my life, and you've treated me like a tenant in my own house." Helen's face turned red. Claire grabbed her mother's arm. "Let's go, Mom. We don't need this." "Daniel, get your things." Daniel looked at me, his expression anguished. "Mom, Go," I said quietly. "Think about what you really want, Daniel. Think about who you want to be. And when you figure it out, my door will be open. But only to you, not to them." Claire's face twisted with fury, but she said nothing. She turned and marched upstairs. Helen followed, muttering under her breath about ungrateful women and disrespectful behavior. Daniel lingered for a moment. "I really am sorry, Mom." "I know, sweetheart. But you need to decide if you're sorry enough to change." He nodded slowly and went upstairs to pack. An hour later, they were gone. The locksmith arrived right on schedule. As he worked on the front door, I walked through the house, room by room. I put everything back the way it had been before Helen's arrival. I restored my kitchen, my living room, my space, and I felt something I hadn't felt in over a year. Peace. The days that followed were quiet, too quiet at first. I'd gotten used to the noise, the tension, even the conflict, but slowly I began to remember what it felt like to be alone by choice rather than by tragedy. Daniel called 3 days later. His voice was small. "Mom, can I come over? Just me." "Of course, sweetheart." He arrived an hour later, looking rumpled and tired. We sat in the living room, the same room where he'd stood and told me to move to the storage room. "Claire and I have been fighting," he said finally. "A lot. About you. About her mom. About everything." I waited. She said I have to choose. Her or you. I felt my heart sink. And I told her that's not a choice I should have to make, that I can love my wife and respect my mother. "Good," I said quietly. "That's the right answer." He looked up at me, his eyes wet. She didn't like that answer. She packed a bag, went to stay with her mom. She said until I learned to put my wife first, We have nothing to talk about. I'm sorry, Daniel. He laughed bitterly. Are you? Because I think I deserve this. I think I deserve exactly what I'm getting. What do you mean? I abandoned you, Mom. Dad died, and you needed me, and I let Claire and her mother push you around. I stood there and asked you to move to a storage room. A storage room. In the house Dad built for you. His voice broke. I stood and sat beside him, pulling him into my arms the way I had when he was small. You made a mistake, I whispered. A big one. But you're here now. You're trying to make it right. How can I make it right? By learning from it, by being the man your father raised you to be. We sat like that for a long time, mother and son, in the house that Robert built. Daniel started coming over regularly after that. Just him. We'd have dinner, talk about work, about life, about Robert. Slowly, we rebuilt what had been broken. Claire called me once 3 weeks later. Her voice was cold. I hope you're happy, Maggie. You've destroyed my marriage. I didn't destroy anything, Claire. You did. The moment you thought you could manipulate my son into choosing your mother over me. She hung up. I heard later that she and Daniel separated, then divorced. It wasn't my fault, but I felt the weight of it anyway. Mothers always do. But Daniel seemed lighter somehow, freer. He got his own apartment, started therapy, began rebuilding his life. And I got my house back, my sanctuary, my home. One Sunday afternoon, 6 months after that terrible Tuesday, Daniel and I were sitting on the back porch Robert had built. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of gold and rose. Thank you, Mom. I looked at him. For what? For standing your ground. For showing me what strength looks like. For not letting me disrespect you, even when it would have been easier to just go along with it. I reached over and took his hand. Your father used to say that love without boundaries isn't really love. It's codependence. He was right. Daniel smiled, but his eyes were sad. I wish I'd learned that before I lost Claire. Maybe Claire was the lesson you needed to learn it. We sat in comfortable silence watching the sun sink below the horizon. This house, I said softly, isn't just wooden nails. It's a testament to love and hard work and family. Your father built it for us. For you. And I'll be damned if I let anyone make me feel like I don't belong in it. I get that now, Mum. I really do. Good. Because someday, this house will be yours. But only if you promise to remember what it stands for. He looked at me, his expression solemn. I promise. And I believed him. Because Robert had been right about so many things. He'd been right that love requires strength. That family means respect. That a house is more than just walls and a roof. It's a legacy. And I wasn't going to let anyone, not even my own son, take that away from me. Not now, not ever. This house was mine. My name was on the deed. My memories filled every room. My husband's love built every corner, and I would never forget it again.